Our next work of art is one of my favorites. She's so fantastic. She is the Nike of Samothrace, or you could pronounce it the Nike of Samothraki, or you can call her Victory, but that's her Roman name. She's also referred to as the Winged Victory because we have here the goddess Victory, Nike, and she's got wings. Oh, her name, Nike of Samothrace or Samothraki, is what I want you to use because she is a Hellenistic work of art, not a Roman work of art. And she's given the name Nike because it's the goddess Nike. She's given the name Samothraki or Samothrace because that's where she was found. She was found on this teeny tiny island of Samothraki in a larger temple complex. This complex had various sites, theaters, shrines, and she was part of a fountain. Ooh, in fact, she was right here. So there was this fantastic theater that we would all be like, hey, let's go to the theater, let's go check it out, let's go watch a Greek theater. And then we'd come and sit down in this pit, and she was at the top of the stairs, and she was nestled into this corner. And so we'd walk by and be like, meet me at the fountain. And then she was the fountain that we would meet in front of. She's so cool. What is this fountain? Where is it now? Okay, well, she was taken from Samothraki and placed inside of the Louvre Museum in Paris. I'll look at her shortly to see her larger space. But what we're supposed to be reading this as is that Nike, the winged goddess of victory, is about to land. She's flying and she's about to land on a Greek battleship, a warship. Now, she would have been facing out of the mountainside, and archaeologists record that there was a square basin of water to be the pool of water, and then set within the water was a marble front that was carved, so a marble piece that was carved to look like the front of a Greek battleship. Greek battleships, this is a mosaic to help you understand. Greek battleships would have this battering ram at the front they would use to, with all their oarsmen, they would just full force, just bash right into you. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the battering ram part of a battleship, and she has just landed or alighted onto this battleship. We're going to look at the composition in a little bit, but let me tell you a little bit more about this as a kind of theatrical piece. So the ship is coming forward in this pool of water. It was a fountain because archaeologists also found a system of jets in which water would have been sprayed out forward onto the boat and the statue of Nike. So imagine these sprays of water. So we would be looking at this as if we're seeing a Greek warship going through the waves, and the sea waves just crashing and splashing all over this piece. Ah, the drama! She is now located in the Louvre Museum, and she's gone through a restoration, which I'll talk about in more detail in a little bit. So I mention it now because when you do a Google search on her, you might see two variations of her. Old photos of her show her a little bit more dark in color, and she's standing on this stupid, ugly block of rock. That is not original. In the original piece, she stood directly on the boat itself. And the marble has been cleaned. The marble of the boat has also been cleaned. The remaining pieces of the boat were taken apart piece by piece. Each piece was then cleaned individually and then glued back together again. So you'll see old pictures like this where she's kind of like a golden brown, and then this is post-restoration. The marble used for her is a very kind of soft off-white, and then the marble used for the ship was a different kind of cold gray marble. And she's located at the top of a major staircase at the Louvre Museum. In fact, that's the reason why the original or the older Nike was placed on that stupid block of rock. I say stupid because it's so misleading and it ruins the whole composition. But it was so that you would have this kind of grand entrance. But you still do. When you go up to see her, she's at the top of the stairs, and it's still dramatic. She's just not lifted up as high as she used to be. Oh, Nike, you're so beautiful. Now again, imagine psh, 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 the waves crashing. What is missing here is her head and her arms. I don't think I didn't notice. I just forget to acknowledge it because she's gorgeous even without them. She did have a head. She did have arms. They were destroyed when worship of these people was seen, or these gods was seen as illegal. But based on, here, these are the remains of her hands that were found at the site. Oh, they were beautiful. Oh, man, and they indicate that she was doing something. She was holding something. Her arms must have been outstretched. This is an artist's restoration of what she may have been doing. There are several versions of these artist restorations because really we're just guessing, but I like this one because it does help you get a sense of how her body would have been in this moment of landing on the ship to bestow victory to this Greek warship and these soldiers. In fact, let me go back up here. At the site where she was found, the surrounding water basin includes an inscription that shows that she is dedicated to a specific series of Greek naval victories. So the people had been fighting and on the water, and she is bestowing victory to those Greek men. And let's go back down to where we were before. There she is. Now let's ask ourselves, how is she characteristic of the Hellenistic period? Well, drama? Yeah. She is about to land on this ship. Her foot has been pulled forward, and she is flying with such speed that her clothes cling to her body. Her wings are still outstretched. They're still pulsing with air, and she's flying down in this graceful pose. Her toes are just about to touch down. An analysis of her clothing shows that she was wearing two pieces. She had on this very fine, gauzy dress called a chiton. If you're interested in fashion, email me and I have some more information about Greek women and Greek fashion. But she's wearing a more, it's fancier than a peplos. Fancier than a peplos because you would usually use a finer or thinner fabric, more expensive, and then you would attach it not with simple buckles at the top, but a series of ties or pins on the sides, and it would create this fantastic long kind of looping draped effect, and that line work of that fabric here is pressed against her body. What's highlighted here is a computer generated image to show you that she also had this cape, and this cape has slipped off of her shoulder and it's clinging to her. It's only hasn't fallen off of her body because of the force of her flying down and the force of the wind that's keeping this cape stuck or clinging to her hip. The drama of it all. It's about to fall. Oh, pick it up. Do you see the diagonal lines? The diagonal lines of how that fabric falls across her lap. Look at the diagonal lines of her wings. She's so beautiful. Look at the wings themselves. Art historians have done an analysis of these wings, and they can identify species of birds, but it's multiple species of birds that their wings are being used here as an example, or to become Victory's wing. Look at this thick, thick wings that have to hold up this heavy goddess's body. And she's spread out. Her wings are spread out because she's still beating them. They're still slowly helping her come down into or onto this ship. Look at this detail here. Come on, people. Remember that this was a fountain, and so her body was sprayed with the fountain water. This looks wet, doesn't it? The artist has made transparent, wet looking fabric. It looks as if it's clinging to her torso. Oh my goodness gracious. Here she is today. So, drama of the moment, she's about to land. She hasn't quite finished flying, and she's granting victory to this ship. The diagonal lines, look at that outstretch of those wings. Look at that back leg as it's pulling. She's coming with such speed. Look at this side of her. That her clothes are falling off and only staying on her because they're clinging to her with the wind whipping as she's gracefully coming down. Oh! Activation of space. Well, the space itself would include that fountain, and the fountain is spraying onto her. So we see our reality of this fountain spray and her, the goddess, landing before us. Even the twist of her body. She's not standing, she's flying. And she's not in contrapposto. She's not a counterbalance because she's twisting. You see that twist of her hip there? She's in this ambiguous, unbalanced position. She's not contrapposto. She's just about to land. Now, she was restored in 2014. And it was a major project. It was about a €1 million project that happened. And I mention it because I'm going to add the Louvre Restoration website to Canvas, and hopefully the YouTube video. It might be in French. You might have to do a translation of it, but I'll add it to the playlist as well. I mention all of this because I think it's really cool. And if you're in this class and you're thinking you like art and you like science, art restoration, there's always a job for an art restorer because these things need to be preserved, and you can be part of a team that is taking these precious artifacts and making sure that they're correct in their placement, arrangement, like removing that stupid block. You can also be a part of the preservation of materials that are degrading with time, and you can be around these amazing pieces. I never was an art restorer, but I have been around a few amazing works of art, and it is pretty awesome to just share the space with these creatures. Here, show you the post and pre and post restoration. So become an art restorer and then tell me how much you love it. Okay.